Hi, people. Steve in the house. Yeah, I live in a house, so I'm always going to be in the house. Yeah, so bear with me 1 second. Let's just get this. Hi, everybody. There we go. Do that. Right. Just a quick hello. Let me get comfortable. Hold on 1 sec. Right. Hi, Beyond Belief. P900, cool pics. Left Kung Fu. What else we got? Chris Hayes, how you doing? Marshall, how you doing? Team Foiler. How is everyone? Hope everyone's all right. Jonah Worms, how you doing? You okay? I'm just going to be sharing some stuff on logical fallacy again tonight and infiltrators, group infiltration and stuff like that. Just quickly, I'm going to leave a link to everything in the chat. Chilster, how you doing? Leave a link in the chat to everything I'm doing. Yeah. If anyone wants to come on in a bit, can do. But I'm not going to be on too long. A couple of hours, midnight or something. We'll be packing up. We're going to start off with some logical fallacy stuff, I think, tonight. Help you to see through the bullshit, basically. I'm not going to be able to see the chat for a bit, so I'm going to fair use and all that, educational purposes. Not that it applies to the man; it only applies to the person, and I'm not a person; I'm a man. So there we go. 20 most common logical fallacies we fall victim to every day. Logical fallacies are errors in our thinking that can often lead to wrong or misguided beliefs. Of course, none of us are perfect. We don't have perfect knowledge and we don't have perfect reasoning. However, that shouldn't stop us from trying to be a little smarter in how we think about the world. This article provides a quick summary of the 20 most common logical fallacies people fall victim to every day. You'll probably find that a lot of these logical fallacies apply to your own thinking, as well as the arguments you have heard others make too. Try your best to become more aware of these fallacies, and hopefully you can work on becoming a smarter thinker in the future. Appeal to ignorance. Thinking that a claim is true or false because it can't be proven true or false. Ad hominem. Making a personal attack against the man saying the argument, or woman. I just don't like using the word person. Rather than directly addressing the issue. Strawman fallacy. Misrepresenting or exaggerating another person's argument to make it easier to attack. The bandwagon fallacy. Thinking an argument must be true because it's popular. Naturalistic fallacy. Believing something is good or beneficial just because it's natural. Cherry picking. Only choosing a few examples that support your argument rather than looking at the full picture. False dilemma. Thinking there are only two possibilities when there may be other alternatives you haven't considered. That's the either or fallacy, or the black and white fallacy as well. The bandwagon fallacy, argument must be true because it's popular. That's also argumentum ad populum. Not just a band. That's wrong. No, that's wrong. They've got that wrong. The bandwagon fallacy is when you jump on something because everyone else is doing it, so you jump on the bandwagon, thinking that it's true and it's right because you jump on the bandwagon because everyone else is doing it. Thinking that argument must be true because it's popular doesn't. That's not that, is it? That's argumentum ad populum. Because most people believe something to be true doesn't mean it's what they call it. No, actually, no. I'm wrong. That is right. because it's popular. It's belief that is the other one. Yeah, my bad, my fault. I got that wrong. False dilemma. Yeah, that's the black and white fallacy. Begging the question, making an argument that something is true by repeating the same thing in different words. Appeal to tradition, believing something is right just because it's been done around for a really long time. Oh, that makes sense. Appeal to emotions, trying to persuade someone by manipulating their emotions, such as fear, anger, or ridicule, rather than making a rational case. Shifting the burden of proof, thinking instead of providing your claim is true, the other individual has to prove it's false. Appeal to authority, believing just because an authority or expert believes something, then it must be true. Red herring, when you change the subject to a topic that's easier to attack. Slippery slope, taking an argument to an exaggerated theme. If we let A happen, then Z will happen. Correlation proves causation, believing that just because two things happen at the same time, that one must have caused the other. Sorry, getting a bit tongue-tied then. Anecdotal evidence, thinking that just because something applies to you, that it must be true for most people. Equivocation, using two different meanings of a word to prove your argument. Non sequitur, implying a logical connection between two things that doesn't exist, it doesn't follow. Ecological fallacy, making an assumption about a specific individual based on general tendencies within a group they belong to. Fallacy, thinking just because a claim follows a logical fallacy that it must be false. We've probably all fallen victim to these logical fallacies at least a few times. I'd say more than a few times. I'd say even if every time. All the time when we're online. Sometimes in real life and all, most of the time when you're talking to people. That's expected. We're not perfect thinkers, and in some ways our brains are even wired to make these errors every now and then. Oh, I don't think I agree with that. No, I think, yeah, we're not perfect thinkers, but we can learn to be good. Nobody's perfect. You can never be perfect. You can be good thinker, and you can stop yourself from making these errors by understanding and learning. Understanding these logical fallacies won't make you right about everything, but they will better prepare you to identify your own faulty thinking when it happens, and to help you identify other people's faulty thinking when it happens as well. Try your best to identify these logical fallacies in your daily life, both in yourself and in others. Don't be afraid to call out people on their faulty thinking and encourage others to be more rational in their beliefs and ideas. No, you shouldn't have beliefs. You can have ideas, yeah, but don't claim anything, because once you start claiming something, then you've got the burden of proof. Big part of cognitive behavioral therapy is the ability to identify our faulty thinking and how it can lead to problems in our lives. I think these are important skills that everyone should work to improve. Well, there's that one. Yeah, Red Herring's about the sky. Yeah, it's another favourite. Sky's not going to give you measurable proof of the ground that you stand on. Have you put that in for me then, Sandra? I was going to put that in there. Yeah. Thank you, Sandra. Save me doing it. I was just about to do that now. But I'd come off of that for a minute and see what people are saying. Yes, the unbelief. Understanding these is not about defending yourself, but it's just as much about protecting others from our own illogic. Yeah. Trying to pass that on to other people and saying, well, you're being illogical. We need to, what they call it, think about this logically and define your terms and stuff like that. What do you mean by whatever they're saying? Yep. Call it out. Yep. You're right, beyond belief. Call it out. But be compassionate, because a lot of people don't know. And if they persist in using the fallacy after you've called it out, then they're not learning it. They're not there to learn. They're there to disrupt. Yeah, I've seen that, the unbelief, yep. Poison the well, yep. They accuse you of doing the fallacies, what they're using, before you get a chance to call them out on it. So you got to be quick calling them out on it. You know, they won't teach it at schools that you attend, that anyone really attends Spherical Cow, because they don't want you thinking logically and critically. They don't teach you how to think, they teach you what to think. If they taught you how to think, they teach you this stuff in school about logical fallacy, enthymemes, syllogisms, the trivium, proper rhetoric and stuff, proper grammar, the etymology of words and stuff like that. What people saying? Have a look. Well, there's that one. Thought I'd let you have a look at that and show you that one. The next one is going to be Introduction to Argument, Structure of a Logical Argument, I think. Yep. Thank goodness for the internet so I can teach myself. Yep. We have to learn these things. We have to learn these things. It's a bit late. I know, 20 past 10 now, but just got kids into bed, so got to leave it till they were in bed. Just a quick, once again, fair use, educational purposes. Although this only applies to the person, I'm not a person, I'm a man. Structure of a logical argument. This is quite long, so I'm not going to do it all. I'll just do some, and then I'll leave a link so people can go back and have a look later. Whether we are consciously aware of it or not, our arguments all follow a certain basic structure. They begin with one or more premises, which are facts that the argument takes for granted as the starting point. Then a principle of logic is applied in order to come to a conclusion. This structure is often illustrated symbolically with the following example. Premise 1. If A equals B, and premise 2, and B equals C, the logical connection then, apply principle of equivalence, conclusion is A equals C. In order for an argument to be considered valid, the logical form of the argument must be valid. A valid argument is one in which, if the premises are true, then the conclusion must be true also. However, if one or more premises is premise is false, then a valid logical argument may still lead to a false conclusion. A sound argument is one in which the logic is valid and the premises are true, in which case the conclusion must be true. Also, it is important to note that an argument may use wrong information or faulty logic to reach a conclusion that happens to be true. An invalid or unsound argument does not necessarily prove the conclusion false. Demonstrating that an argument is not valid or not sound, however, removes it as support for the truth of the conclusion. It means that the conclusion is not necessarily true. Breaking down an argument into its components is a very useful exercise, for it enables us to examine both our own arguments and those of others. and critically analyze them for validity. This is an excellent way of sharpening one's thinking, avoiding biases, and making effective arguments. As stated above, in order for an argument to be sound, all of its premises must be true. Often different people come to different conclusions because they are starting with different premises. So examining all the premises of each argument is a good place to start. There are several types of potential problems with premises. The first and most obvious is that a premises can be wrong. If one argues, for example, that evolutionary theory is false because there are no transitional fossils, that argument is unsound because the premise, no transitional fossils, is false. In fact, there are copious transitional fossils. Well, I've not found any of them. I've not seen any in my like what they call it, so I don't know what they're on about there. I don't agree with that at all. Transitional fossils. That's basically one animal turning into another animal. Don't be silly. that's just stupid. I've never known that. Premises may also be true as far as they go, but are incomplete. The premises are not working. Oh, sorry, the premises are not wrong, but do not cover the relevant facts necessary to argue the conclusion. Another type of premise error occurs when one or more premises is an unwarranted assumption. The premise may or may not be true, but it has not been established sufficiently to serve as a premise for an argument. Identifying all the assumptions upon which an argument is dependent is often the most critical step in analyzing an argument. Frequently, different conclusions are arrived at because of differing assumptions. Often, people will choose the assumptions that best fit the conclusion they prefer. In fact, psychological experiments show that most people start with conclusions they desire, then reverse engineer arguments to support them, a process called rationalization. One way to resolve the problem of using assumptions as premises is to carefully identify and disclose those assumptions up front. Such arguments are often called hypothetical or prefaced with the statement, "Let's assume for the sake of the argument." Also, if two people examine their arguments and realize they are using different assumptions as premises, then at least they can agree to disagree. They will realize that their disagreement cannot be resolved until more information is available to clarify which assumptions are more likely to be correct. The third type of premise difficulty is the most insidious, the hidden premise. I have seen this listed as a logical fallacy, the unstated major premise, but it is more accurate to consider it here. Obviously, if a disagreement is based upon a hidden premise, then the disagreement will be unresolvable. So when coming to an impasse in resolving differences, it is a good idea to go back and see if there are any implied premises that have not been addressed. Let's go back to the transitional fossil example again. Let's not. Let's not go back to the transitional fossil example again because that was bullshit. Let's just see what they say. Why is it that scientists believe we have many transitional fossils, and evolution deniers, creationists, or intelligent design proponents believe that we do not? This would seem to be a straightforward factual claim, easily resolvable by checking the evidence. Sometimes, if evolution deniers are simply ignorant of the evidence or are being intellectually dishonest. However, the more sophisticated are fully aware of the fossil evidence and use a hidden premise to deny the existence of transitional fossils. Well, I don't agree with that at all. I don't agree with that. Well, I've not really looked into it that much, but from what I have seen, I don't agree with that at all. When a paleontologist speaks of transitional fossils, they are referring to species that occupy a space morphologically between two known species. There may be a common ancestor, in which case a transitional fossil will be more ancient than both descendant species, or it can be temporarily between two species, the descendant of one and the ancestor of the other. But in reality, we often do not know if the transitional species is an actual ancestor or just closely related to the true ancestor, because evolution is a bushy process and not linear. Most of the specimens we find will lie on an evolutionary side branch, an uncle rather than a parent. But if they fill a morphological gap in known species, they provide evidence of an evolutionary connection and therefore qualify as transitional. For example, Archaeopteryx may not be on the direct path to modern birds, but clearly they occupy a space that is transitional between theropod dinosaurs and modern birds, and one of their close relatives is a direct ancestor to modern birds. Right. Well, I mean, where's the proof for that? I want to see the proof for that. If this person, this individual here, writing this is claiming that, I want to see their proof for that. I really do want to see their proof for that. It's one about evolution deniers, no transitional fossils, introduction to. I'm not going to read any more of that bullshit. You can read it there if you like. I'll leave it there for a second. You can read if you like, but I don't know. Even when all of the premises of an argument are reliably true, the argument may still be invalid if the logic employed is not legitimate. A so-called logical fallacy. The human brain is a marvelous machine with capabilities that in some way still outperform the most powerful of supercomputers. Our brains, however, do not appear to have evolved specifically for precise logic. There are many common logical pitfalls that our minds tend to fall into, unless we are consciously aware of these pitfalls and make efforts to avoid them. Humans also tend to use logical shortcuts called heuristics. These are thought processes that are not strictly valid in their logic, but are true most of the time, and therefore are a useful rule of thumb as to what is likely to be true, but they get us into trouble when they substitute for valid logic. Also, because as stated above, there is a tendency to start with desired conclusions and then conduct arguments to support them. Many people will happily draw upon logical fallacies to make their arguments. In fact, if a conclusion is not true, one must either employ a false premise or a logical fallacy in order to construct an argument that leads to that conclusion. Remember, a sound argument, one with true premises and valid logic, cannot lead to a false conclusion. So in order to avoid using logical fallacies to construct invalid arguments, we need to understand how to identify fallacious logic. And then below, they list some common logical fallacies. On a side note, I found many lists of logical fallacies, and they tend to differ along the lumper versus splitter spectrum. Many fallacies are really just specific subtypes of a more general fallacy. I've taken a combined approach, listing the main types of fallacies and giving examples of subtypes where appropriate. Although the list started with 20 logical fallacies, we include more than 20 fallacies. Right, I'm not going to go through all these because there's loads, but we're going to give you a quick, so you can have a quick look. Ad hominem, ad ignorantium, that's argument from ignorance, argument from authority, argument from final consequences, argument from personal incredulity, begging the question, confusing association with causation, confusing currently unexplained with unexplainable, false analogy, false continuum, false dichotomy, genetic fallacy, inconsistency, no true Scotsman, non sequitur, post hoc ergo propter hoc, reductio ad absurdum, slippery slope fallacy, special pleading or ad hoc reasoning, the straw man fallacy, which we see a lot of, tautology, the fallacy, moving the goalposts, and tu quo quo. I said I'm going to make sure there's a link to this in there anyway, so I'm just going to, what do you call it, grab that now, copy. I realise that one if you want to go and look at them fallacies, but bear in mind I didn't write them. Someone else has wrote, some other individuals wrote them, so anything that they've put down, that's their beliefs or opinions. I don't represent that. What are you saying about that? Let's have a look. All right, Rickus Vaticus. How you doing? The Galileo fallacy, Steve. Read that one. Interesting whose fingerprints are all over that one. I'll have a look at that in a second, beyond belief. I'll put that on. I'll put that on so everyone can have a look. Yeah. Yeah, not bad, thanks. Because all right. Right, oh, that one again, beyond belief. Galileo fallacy. Right, bear with me a second. Let me have a look, see if I can find that. I was going to do one more there, but we'll do that in a second. It's just Galileo fallacy. Have a quick look at that. Just get the first one. Galileo fallacy. Yeah, look, right. I'll have a quick look at that one then. All right, let's have a look at. Let's go back to there. And there. A logical version of the switcheroo. Who writes the paradigm? I don't know. John Williams, who writes the paradigm? I don't know. Baron, how you doing? Mr. Bronskovich? No, sorry, no, there's no misters, no titles. No titles. Right. We'll have a look at this Galileo fallacy then. I've never seen it before, so it's the first time I'm putting it on there. Let's screen share, application window, that there. There. And again, fair use, educational purposes, which applies to the person. I'm not a person, I'm a man. Thank you. Logicallyfallacious.com. Also known, hang on, sorry, slowing down a bit here. Galileo fallacy, also known as Galileo argument, Galileo defense, Galileo gambit, Galileo wannabe. Description: the claim that because an idea is forbidden, prosecuted, detested, or otherwise mocked, it must be true, or should be given more credibility. This originates from Galileo Galilei's famous persecution by the Roman Catholic Church for his defense of heliocentrism, where the commonly accepted belief at the time was an Earth-centered universe. Ah, I see. Logical form. Claim X is made. Claim X is ridiculous. Person A argues that claim Y was seen as ridiculous at the time, and it turned out to be right. Therefore, claim X is true, or should be given more credibility. Lindy and Jonah claim that Elvis is still alive and living on the... There's that word planet again. He's living on a planet apparently called Houndog-Gaian in the constellation Blue Suede. Oh, Hound Dog Ian. Hound Dog Ian. In the constellation Hound Dog. I get it now. In the constellation Blue Suede. When questioned about their odd beliefs, Lindy and Jonah confidently reply, "You know, people thought Galileo was nuts too, right?" He probably was. Lindy and Jonah are making an extraordinary claim and are offering no evidence to support their claim. They are using Galileo in an attempt to get the audience to doubt their skepticism about the claim. Sydney, I am mere weeks away from getting my time machine to work, at which time I will go back to 1626 and buy Manhattan from the Native Americans before the Dutch West India Company gets their greedy hands on it. I'll be much more generous and give the Native Americans 70 guilders, not a measly 60. Pete, is this the time travel kit you bought online for $99.99? Sydney, go ahead and mock me. People mock the Wright brothers too for wanting to fly like birds. Although Sydney did not use the exact example of Galileo, the fallacy is the same. Any reference to a similar story counts. Exception. Using Galileo or similar success stories to serve as effective inspirational anecdotes to encourage people to reach outside their comfort zone. It does not mean, however, that because they succeeded, that everyone else will or even can. Tip, remember that for every Galileo, there are millions of cranks, quacks, and wackos, and statistically speaking, those who use the Galileo defense are one of the latter. Let's find another one. See what one we got. Go back. Come on. Let's have a look. What else we got? Association fallacy. Galileo wannabe fallacy. Logic. All right, there's that one. Oh, I've not even, what do you call it, got the link. Just copy it and paste that link where we copy it. There we go. Where's that one? Oh, I'm nearly dead. That one, I've never seen that Galileo fallacy before. First time I've seen that. Motivated reasoning, Steve. Good examples in the Skeptics Dictionary. Skeptics Dictionary. Have a look for that. Hang on. Skeptics Dictionary. Skeptics Dictionary.
According to Wikipedia, the Skeptics Dictionary is a collection of cross-referenced skeptical essays by Robert Todd Carroll, published on his website skeptic.com and in a printed book.
Well, this looks good. Right, I'll have to have a look at that for next time. I've given up smoking weeks ago. I'm trying to get off this now. I don't have much of it. I have a little bit now and again. I don't have much. I'm trying to give that up now and all. In my honest opinion, these are no good for you either. With it, there's 3 ingredients in them, but the main ingredient is what they use in preserving plastics. So I don't recommend them, to be honest. Give smoking now. The only thing I can give up is the odd one of these. I'm not going to advertise by putting the thing on there, but yeah, the odd lager on the odd cider now and again. I don't have many. Right, Lady Onyx, how you doing? What's that? Giving up vaping back to roll-ups. Oh no, stop. Bad for your health, man. Yep, cigarettes kill you. They do. These probably doing all these vapes. Like I said, the main ingredient in these is a plastic preservative. But they used to preserve plastics, so it can't be good for you, really, can it? I used to do roll-ups years ago. Before I met the wife and had kids and that, and then I just couldn't be bothered doing roll-ups no more. I started smoking proper cigarettes and I wouldn't know about them legalised. I never had them. Never tried them. Well, Sandy123, hi, how you doing? I don't believe in anything Chris says. So, yeah, you're right. I don't believe in vapes because I don't believe in anything. But don't get me wrong, people are entitled to the beliefs, but I don't think you should have beliefs. Yeah, they're untested and pushed in by, yeah, untested. Like I've just said, there's three main ingredients in them. One is like the flavouring, whatever flavour they put in it. One is what's the other one? I can't remember what they are now. Two of them don't sound that bad, but the main one, like I said, it's a plastics preservative, so I wouldn't recommend really. That's why I'm trying to give this up and all. Yeah, this is my next thing to go. This. So, all right, Flat Earth Underground, how you doing? Like I said, I won't be on this for much longer. Because speaking as an occasional smoker, I prefer cigarettes. The vape left sticky lining in my throat. All right. You're driving Flat Earth Underground, then we'll drive safe. Yeah. Concentrate on that road. All right, I was going to do one more quick thing, and then I was going to put the link in the chat. Gridlock. Well, I'm not surprised. Been nice on it, so people are going away and coming home, and probably why it's gridlocked. Roadworks. Where do they spend money on roadworks? You think potholes? No. I think they're just like wasting money. They all seem to be doing roadworks on motorways. They don't do them anywhere else mainly. I think like wasting money, I think. That's it. Yes, Chilster. Glycerin or glycol or whatever, yeah, and the flavouring or whatever it is, and the propylene thing, the plastic preservative thing. That's the worst. That's the thing that I don't like. Yeah, it's vegetable glycerin, yeah. Vegetable glycerin, you're right, yeah, Chelsea looks, yeah. Vegetable glycerin, the flavouring, whatever flavouring they put in, and the plastics preservative. I can't see that, well, flavouring could still be bad for you, you know what I mean? Because it's artificial flavouring, but... And the vegetable glycerin, I'm guessing that might be all right for you, I don't know. It's the plastic preservative, the other one, I'm a bit... So they've never been tested. They don't know what the side effects are. They don't know what the long-term effects are going to be because they've not. You know what I mean? Road closures for the next 20 years. Sorry for the inconvenience. Yep. Right, I'm gonna. One more. Just quickly. Again. Fair use, educational purposes, although it only applies to the person, and I'm not a person, I'm just a man. What this here, I've just come across it tonight. I've not read it myself yet. I've had a quick peruse, a quick flash through, Infiltrators, informers, and grassers. How, why, and what to do if your group is targeted. But this is like if you're in groups and stuff like that, what to look out for, what to look for and that. Because we know that it's going to, what they call it, going to be infiltrated groups and stuff like that. The right look for recruits, the left look for traitors. To be an activist and not to be aware of the cloak and dagger world of your enemies would be very naive. And for these very reasons, activists often find themselves guarded and cautious. We are acutely aware of the repercussions and effects of our movements because of infiltrators, informers, and grassers. The battleground is dangerous as we now somehow seem to be involved in illegal politics. Apparently, I don't know. Just because of our view of the unjust system and the power of the capitalist state, and because of that power held by the few and the abuse of those powers, the capitalist system we oppose has made sure that any opposition is silenced in any way possible. But this will only serve to make us stronger and more committed. This is obvious when we see the bravery of activists that have come forward above and beyond to fight these battles publicly, even after having their lives destroyed by spies and the state. This is a guide to help us through the myriad of possibilities that we may come up against while dealing with these threats. It's never pleasant to think that one of the people you are working with, or that you know in this subject or anything like that, possibly very closely, someone you might even go drinking with, or who's sleeping with one of your friends, who seems so full of life and passion, is actually trying to undermine everything you are doing. Unfortunately, if your group is challenging often very powerful industries or people with vested interests, like the Globe Earth Society and everything else, it is inevitable you will make enemies along the way, and in a number of cases they will retaliate or seek to counter your campaign, regardless of how small or large it is. Anyone who has been campaigning for some time will have those moments when someone or something just does not chime right, when suspicions are raised that all is not going well. But this is a guide for turning suspicion into certainty. We first discussed the likely sources of threat, what they are after, and the different techniques they use. This is followed by collecting the evidence to turn suspicions into fact. Thirdly, we explain how to challenge a suspect and present findings to your group. In the last few sections, we look at specific situations such as new people, collaborators, and gatherings, which have particular issues. Some cautionary words. And this is written by, there's here somewhere, The Diary of a Hampstead Mum. It really is an unpleasant task having to deal with informants and infiltrators and stuff like that. And often reactions get very emotional. Some people go into denial, refusing to believe it. Others get very angry and want to take preemptive action. These are both natural reactions, but neither are helpful. If you get the presentation wrong, you can end up breaking a group or cause a witch hunt of an innocent individual. Unfounded paranoia is not helpful to anyone but your enemies. Indeed, paranoia is not part of the security process. It is an unhelpful state of mind, often built on emotion. Your fears need to be grounded in facts and rational consideration to be part of your security in a useful way. You need to be able to back them up with more than vague hypotheticals that can justify any position you are taking. Fortunately, the problem of insiders working against us is not as big as we might suppose, and those who sponsor them spread disinformation about the extent of it. It suits their purpose to keep people guessing. It is always good to remember there has been and remains a long history of successful campaigns and actions despite the informers operating inside our groups. It does not matter if your group is very open rather than closed and covert. There is still much that a skilled operative can do to cause disruption to make you ineffective. For example, planting false information, such as at the Heathrow Camp for Climate Action's plenary, or journalists deliberately twisting your unguarded words. Just because you have nothing to hide does not mean that you are going to be able to avoid the issue. It just means you have different methods to deal with dishonest intentions. If there is one thing to take away from this, it's to always have proof before you start making accusations against someone. Witch hunts based on insufficient evidence and vague rumours have ended up destroying groups. Calling someone a snitch is a very serious charge to lay at anyone's door. The personal consequences can be a backlash against yourself or even causing your group to split. It is never to be done lightly. Do not mention it jokingly in conversation behind someone's back, as that is how nasty rumours begin. Even passing on accusations made by others without real factual backup or research is to be avoided. Individuals who constantly make up this sort of accusation about those who disagree with them, or even on personal grounds, need to be challenged, as this act acts as to poison the group as a whole. This has been a deliberate tactic developed by state agents, acting both overtly and covertly to disrupt enemies or dissident groups. Classic example dated now was to forge a letter from one member of a group making allegations against another to cause internal dissent, and then spread rumours that the letter is a fake. Impossible to get to the bottom of, and the result in the group that implodes trying to find out the actual truth, dividing along personal and political allegiances. Fortunately, this has become fairly obsolete, but it is an illustration of the levels that the state is willing to go to. Read Machiavellia. Disinformation from the police is also a factor to concern yourselves with. They are aware that a group closing in on itself, drawing away in paranoia and mistrust, is effectively dead, so they will let it slip that some of their success has come from inside source in order to create the divisions that allows them to break your group of individuals down. Often it is guesswork or intelligence gathered from other sources, such as listening devices and tap telephones, carefully shaped to make it look like they know more than they do. Take care and tread carefully before making allegations. Do not do their work for them. If in doubt, find independent people who have had experience dealing with informers and infiltrators and get advice from them before leaping to conclusions. Everything we talk about, we have had personal experience of, or we have spoken directly to people who have gone through it. The danger of informers and infiltrators is a very real threat. Numerous campaigns have been disrupted because of them, and many more people have gone to jail because of this sort of betrayal and targeting. It is not about how peaceful or innocent your group is. These tactics have been used on everyone from peace groups to militants, irrespectively. What matters What matters is who you are upsetting. Do not expect your opponents to share your knowledge or logic. Often they do not understand those they are targeting and may have the wrong picture altogether of the sort of a threat that you actually pose. It is fair to say that they rarely understand the concept of non-hierarchy, and often they are actually working from a position of ignorance. Breaking it down, infiltrators, informers, and grassers. We use the following definitions for convenience. Infiltrators: individuals who insert themselves for the purpose of gathering intelligence, as often amateur as they are professional, but generally they have no prior connection to the group or true concern for the issues, generally motivated by ideological opposition or money. Informers: members of the group who have been turned or induced to betray the group, whether to avoid criminal charges or for money. Some are simply people with addictions, alcohol, drugs, gambling, debts, or are manipulated into talking. Grassers: people who have been turned after an event, often following an arrest, but it can be for other reasons. They are used to provide evidence against former colleagues or to entrap people. Trap them. Infiltrators are expensive for the police and security service, stuff like that, to run, and more likely to be favoured by corporations with deeper pockets. Well, I wouldn't agree with that. I think the government will be doing it as well. Informers and grassers are preferred by the state as they are cheaper than employing someone full-time without the attendant risks. The types of agencies that will seek to infiltrate a group come in three distinct groups: the state, corporations, and the media. State agencies will be the most professional and experienced of the threats facing you. They target those they think might be involved in criminal activity, in furtherance of a political agenda, or actively organising political protests, or even just might upset the status quo. Their goal is not simply solving crime or policing protest, but as much about gathering information, building profiles, and on occasion in the group to the point where you are no longer a threat. It is not helpful to see the state as a single entity with a clear agenda. Different parts do things in different ways, with different objectives and budgets. Various arms of the state are funded to different levels, and often they are in competition with each other. So just because some parts are well funded, it is a mistake to think that all are. Different police forces have their own agendas, and how they spend their budgets on surveillance, infiltration, or even just targeting groups will vary greatly. Secret services and national groups, for example MI5, FBI, often have long-term objectives based on evidence gathering and disruption. They tend to be resource-rich. The information they want is a working knowledge of who the key people are, their details and habits, and how the organisation as a whole is structured. They are significantly more prepared to bend the law, and their agents will try to get in deep to the heart of the organisation, putting in a considerable amount of work to get into place. Their agenda is often to do with large social movements which threaten the status quo, regardless of how avowedly peaceful their tactics. Local police are in general resource poor and focus on the immediate results, such as arresting as a crime is taking place, or removing from circulation a particular group of activists. They are restricted by rules on entrapment and the need to get quick results to justify budgets. As a rule of thumb, the Secret Service branch of government generally runs infiltrators, while local police prefer to use cheaper informers and grassers. All branches of the state can be utilised for political purposes, such as the targeting of groups, successfully embarrassing the government, acting to protect their political masters over and above, and solving any crime. Collaborating to pass on information to powerful corporations has been well documented. Despite that, in many cases, this amounts to a breach of the law. Corporations, lawyers, and professional agencies are a very different beast from the state. Again, their objectives are quite varied, and often money is no object. Usually their objectives are one or more of finding information on forthcoming campaigns so that they can successfully preempt threats, including through PR or sabotage the group's activities, information gathering on people and campaigns for threat analysis, preparation for legal cases. Most corporations outsource this to professional companies who come in various sizes. Some, such as Knoll, are transnational and do as much work in industrial espionage as on campaigns against particular corporations. Other smaller companies, such as, well, there's the word global again, Global Open, Verify, etc., are staffed by ex-policemen putting their skills and personal knowledge of campaigners to use. In some cases, these professional companies are acting at the specific request of companies who fear protests. However, a significant number are proactive and seek to gain information on campaigns, which they can turn into often very inaccurate reports to sell onto companies. Connected to this group are the lawyers seeking dirt on groups or specific information on which individuals to target with legal actions. Some, such as Lawson, Gruttenden and Co., are known to have reciprocal relationships with private investigation firms. The paperwork in court cases such as these can be very useful resources of information and provide hints as to whether they have been using infiltrators or not. On the whole, experience indicates that private investigators are much more likely to use infiltrators than informers. Occasionally, they will work with the police, but their agents are often much more unscrupulous as they are not bound by the same codes as the police, and the latter see them as competition. The media. It is far from unknown for newspapers to get involved in groups to get a juicy story or to back up something they have heard, and to do it covertly. Often easy to spot by their inappropriate clothes and their poor questioning technique. They struggle not to ask directly what they want to find out, and even by their open note-taking. Some simply want photos, pretty much all want a speedy story, so they rarely invest the time and money needed to get away with it properly. A nuisance more than anything. They're unlikely to give you a good press anyway. The best thing to do is politely ask them to leave. Do you have an infiltrator? Right? This is like for the if you're thinking about getting into groups and stuff like that. Why would you suspect you have an infiltrator in the first place? Consider things go wrong when they've not been doing so previously. Your opponents seem to know what you are planning despite your precautions. Constant internal disruption. New faces at meetings acting dubiously. Your opponents have a history of targeting campaign groups in some situations / groups. It is good to be proactive before any damage is done. It is rare that straight away there is clear proof you have an insider working against you. Sometimes the information comes from other groups but who have noticed problems with yours, or have had a similar experience, or are even aware of a particular individual being a problem. In many cases, it is simply pure instinct. You know something is wrong and you cannot put a finger on it, at which point you start digging to confirm or deny. However, the first question is to ask is, could the events that have aroused your suspicion be based on intelligence gathered through other means, such as phone taps, bugs, and so on? The more of these you can eliminate from the start, the better. Looking for infiltrators should be at the bottom of the list. Infiltrators tend to go for positions where they can either get the most information or do the most damage. Watch out for the following behavior. Right, we're going to come back to that in a second. Sorry, I'm just reading the chat quickly. See what's. There we go. There's a little bit there. I'll do some more later. Come to have a look at the chat, see what people are saying. I do not consent to any of your bullshit. Any of your fucking, what they call it. I don't consent to any of it that you're doing. I don't consent to it. Like I said, that there, I've just something I found online about 10 minutes before I come on. I've not even read it myself, so I'm just going through it for the first time, same as you. Thought I'd put it out there so then we can learn to what they call it. You want a link? Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I can put it in now. Give us a sec. Copy. Paste. Send. There we go. There's a link to that. There's quite a bit more to go through. There's about another, just over half of it, I think. I'll do a little bit more in a minute. So have a break for 5-10 minutes. 5 minutes. Like I said, I've not read that before. It's the first time I've read it tonight. About 10 minutes before we come on, I've just had a quick run through quickly. Didn't get a chance to read it. So I'll go through a bit more in a minute. The rest of it now is just about how to spot an infiltrator and stuff like that, and disinformation agents and stuff like that. Just like the videos I've just put on the other day. I didn't mention on that. It was Sheeps and Neeps that had that on his channel, and he put the link in there. So I went to the link, I got it, and I've done videos on that. So it was him that found that, and I've just like picked it up and run with it. All right, Stephen Watson, how you doing? I'll be doing. Thank you, Sandy. 123. Yeah. Well, like I said, it was Sheeps and Neeps had it on one of his live things. I clicked the link, went to it, and I thought I'm going to do a video on this. I've done a video. I broke it up into 6 parts because it was going to be too long otherwise. Infrared footage. Yeah, I've seen that. Good that infrared. In mountains 120 miles away. Good that. I've ordered some infrared filters in the post for my camera, and I'll be going to Ingelmell soon. So when I'm out there, I'm going to have a look over, see if I can see Norfolk, and I'm going to put the infrared filters on and see if I can see anything better with the infrared filters on over towards Norfolk. See what I can get. So yeah, like I said, I'll be doing my own infrared footage soon and have a look. I've got some filters in the post. I'm just waiting for them to come. How are you doing, Shane Walter? Hi, Midnight Gardener. How you doing? You're late. Detention. You're late to your education. Detention. I'm joking. 100 lines. I will not be late for my education again. Hi, Jamie Brown. How you doing? I'm not seeing you there. Oh. What's up, you believe? Fuck knows what it is. It's locally level and contained, but aside from that, I'm a hostage in a prison in a state of amnesia as to how I got here, how and when. Exactly. He was born into captivity, into a cult. The cult of society. And then you've got the religion of heliocentrism. Can't remember. Did I put in one of my live things before about... Hey, Midnight Guy, I'm not a sir. I ain't got a title. I don't have a title. I'm not a mister. I'm not a sir. I don't have a title. But apology accepted, Midnight Gardener. 100 lines. Expect it by the weekend. Slave I remain. I'm nobody's fucking slave. I'm an individual. I'm a man. Yes, beyond belief. Stop the debates. It's not a debate. You can debate ideas. You can debate subjective opinions. Can't debate reality. Like the physics of water is a reality. How we build and maintain pressure is a reality. Can't debate reality. So for discussion, you can discuss reality, but you can't debate it. You can debate, like I said, opinions, subjective thoughts, subjective opinions. Keep it down to earth. Literally. Don't look at the stars. Keep it down to earth. Keep your feet on the ground. Cheap fizz. The cans of lager. It's £1.25 a can. It's about 5% volume, isn't it? Other lagers are available. Ranger Boom. Other lagers are available. Not the only lager. It's just the ones I picked up in shop. There's no advertising here. The non-sex show? No. Fucking stupid. You do know what non sequitur means, don't you? Non sequitur is actually a logical fallacy. The non sequitur. So they're actually using logical fallacy on a show. That's a logical fallacy. That is a logical fallacy. So debating reality is absurd. You can't debate reality. Like I said, you can debate opinions. You can debate subjective ideas. Orange was acceptable, I suppose. I've got a couple of Magners. Will that be better if I go get a Magners? Exactly, Rickus Fatigas. Don't watch debates on the shape of water. It's insane. It's pure mentality. It's a mental illness to debate objective reality. Just oh, excuse me. That's it. Right. Let's Red's retarded, yeah. Red's illogical. Orangutan boss. An orangutan's ass. Let's have a look. Just again, they use copyright and all that for educational purposes. We know it only applies to the person. I'm not a person, by the way. I'm just a man. Have a look at this here. Look from logicallyfallacious.com. Non sequitur, also known as derailment. That does not follow. Irrelevant reason. Invalid inference. Non-support argument by scenario. Form of false premise. Form of questionable premise. Form of non sequitur. When the conclusion does not follow from the premises. In more informal reasoning, it can be when what is presented as evidence or reason is irrelevant or adds very little support to the conclusion. There we go, look. That's what non sequitur means. So it even shows you. No, we don't even own our cars. Exactly, Chelsea Deluxe. We don't even own our houses. I don't know. I don't own my house anyway because I live in a council house and an housing estate. But what do you call it? I think I'm not sure. I've not looked into it. Can anyone tell me? When you buy a house, do you have to register it on the land registry or all like that? Yeah, we ain't got time for a meeting of the Globe Earth Society cult. Yeah, we're the registered keepers, yeah, when it comes to cars, but is it the same with houses? Yes. Yeah, you've got to register your house. Well, you don't own your house, then, do you? Either. Because the word register in law means to give up ownership. So once you register something, you give up ownership to whoever you're registering to. So if you buy an house and you register it, you don't own your house either. You own nothing. You think you own, but you don't. Well, I'm guessing you registered that house then. Bears Rug. If you registered it, you don't own it. Whoever you registered it to, they own it. That's what the name register. That's what the word register means in law. It means you giving up ownership to whoever you, what they call it. The land registry, yeah. You have to register your house on the land registry and your land. You don't own it. Even in the UK, the Queen owns everything. You're just a tenant on her land, basically. And that's when the Sescovy Act comes in. All tenants on the land. Lost at sea for the first 7 years, then legally dead. Just a tenant on the land. You don't own anything. Yep, mortgage, death grip. Yep. Yep, Regis, register, Regis, Regina. Yeah, it's the first thing that I come into that when I first started off. Well, not when I first started off, because I've always been into looking into things and trying to think critically and that. Think logic, well, not so much logically, because I've only just started learning about logic and stuff like that over the last about 6 to 8 months. About logical fallacy and stuff like that. Looking into the trivium because of Harry Growler and the imaginary curve put us into like the trivium and stuff. So I've started looking into all that. And whenever I find something or anything like that, I want to pass it on so people can look into it and help people to discern for themselves. Stand as an individual. Not stand on your own 2 feet. Take back your own authority by saying, no, I do not fucking consent anymore. I am an individual. I am a man or a woman. You're off, John Worms, right? See you later. I want nothing to do with this demented cult anymore. I do not agree. I do not consent to it or anything. I want to stand on my own 2 feet as an individual. And everyone else should as well. We should all stand on our own 2 feet as individuals. I'll say good night, John. Thanks for popping in. Excuse me. Yeah, send me a nice infrared camera. A really good one. Good for you, Phase Rub. Some of us can't afford stuff like that. You know what I mean? We're poor. Ain't got money to do stuff like that. I wish I had. Be able to go anywhere. Well, no, actually, no, I don't wish I had the money. I'm not bothered about money, to be honest. You don't need money. You just need out of this shit. You can just go where you want without having to worry about any fucking stuff like that. You shouldn't have to fucking ask permission to go anywhere or do anything. No one's being rude and disrespectful, Phase Rug. I'm not saying no. I'm just saying, well done, good for you. That you're not missing anything, believe that. No, don't believe anything, Chelsea Deluxe. Yeah, I know what you mean. You're not missing anything, but don't believe anything. $9 million. Oh, have a look at this Phase Rug's channel, shall we? Have a quick look. Right. Oh. Yeah, I don't believe anything. I used to. Don't get me wrong. I used to believe in stuff. I've never believed in religion ever. Not organized anyway. Organized religion. Organized religion to me, it's just another control mechanism. Karma. I don't know. Right, I'm going to do a little bit. I don't have to do a little bit more of that. No, I'll leave it. I'll leave that now, and I'll do it next time. The rest of that. The beginning, because it's been on a bit long now. If I put it on now, it's near the end, and people go and get some new socks. Oh, I've just bought some sheep's wool. I'm thinking about crocheting a blanket. I'm kidding you not. I'm about crocheting a blanket. It is funny how trolls seem like they're affected by money, or we're all in it for the money and stuff like that, and monetizing and stuff like that. We're not. We're in it because we've had enough. And we want the truth. We want to know where the fuck we are. Basically, we know it's not what they tell us. Bamboo socks. Knit you a cardi. I can't knit. I'm going to learn, though. I'm trying to learn as much as I can. I'm trying to learn how to knit, how to crochet, all sort of stuff. I know it's mainly from women that do it, but that's sexist. I don't believe in that. I don't think that. Well, I don't believe anything, but you know what I mean. Yeah, sheep's wool, yeah. Got some sheep's wool. It might be a bit itchy, but after I've washed it a few times, it might go down a bit. Keep you warm, though, won't it? You know what I mean? In winter. No, I'm trying to learn as much as I can, just in case. I know how to keep warm and keep my family warm and safe and that and everything else. A lot of these skills have been lost from people. Like I said, a lot of these skills are being lost to people. They don't know how to do half of these things anymore. So while I still can, I'm trying to learn as much as I can about doing all these skills and all this stuff, because it can come in handy at some point, can't it? You know what I mean? No, I won't be doing Christmas jumpers or like that. Be a traitor to everything you read and hear. Attack it relentlessly from all angles, or you will inevitably become prejudiced or fall into leniency. Yep. Thanks, Lady Onyx. But like I said, we've got to do these things. We have to learn as much as we can and learn to look after ourselves and that. Make our own clothes and everything else if we have to, if it comes to that. You sewed a button on some old combats last night. Nice one, Stephen Watson. I'm forever sewing. I can sew. Yeah, people have lost lots of skill and knowledge, and this is why I'm trying to teach myself all this stuff now and get it all back again, so I can pass it on. I'm trying to pass it on to my children and stuff like that. How to knit and sew and cook. Well, I've always been able to cook. I can cook. Gardening. Neighbour's cats just infiltrated your house. Oh no, you got an infiltrator, Chris, and deal with that before he like disrupts your life, takes you out. Make sure he's not got any like what they call it, any weapons hidden under his collar. Yeah, my grandma, my mum's mum, showed me how to knit when I was about 16, back in the early 90s. But I forgot, so I'm trying to teach myself again now. I'm a very quick learner, though. Me, I can put my mind to what I want. I can learn really quickly. I can do anything if I put my mind to it. I'm a very quick learner, so I can learn, and I will learn. There's all this stuff I'm learning and that and everything else, and there is a lot to learn, and there's a lot to keep in here and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And it's eyes wide shut. How you doing? Like I said, we have to learn all these things. We have to get all this knowledge back and all this stuff back all these skills and knowledge. We have to learn all these skills and knowledge because you never know if it's going to come in handy one day. We're going to need it. Threading the needle's easy, Stephen Watson. Hold it up to the light like that. In front of you, and just like, and it does help to get the end of the cotton and go, just wet it a bit, just push it through and pull it through. I've only got half a thumb on one. You can see that I've only got half a thumb on there, look, but I can still thread a needle. You know what I mean? Both hands. But you can get a gadget for that, yeah. A needle threader thing, you can get something to do that, but I don't bother. I just thread the needle, so the button on whatever I got to sew. Well, my niece does a lot of knitting. She's only about, how old is she? Shit, I forgot how old she is. She's about 8 or 9. I can't remember how old my niece is. How bad's that? She's 8 or 9 anyway. She does knitting on the bus on the way to school. I've asked her to teach me, so I'll pay her some money if she teaches me. Not done it yet. Should be easy enough to pick up anyway. All I need to do then is, once I've learnt to knit and crochet a bit better, all I need to do then is learn to plaster and bricklaying a little bit better. And that's about it. Then I can do just about everything. What about in a JCB? I've never tried knitting in a JCB beyond belief. I don't know. I used to drive a Bobcat, if that helps. And little JCB digger things, little Bobcat. I used to drive them around for a job, if that helps. I've got my license things and that for forklift trucks and reach and counterbalance and that. I mean, is plastering hard? I don't know. I've never done plastering. I've done a little bit of bricklaying. I've done joinery. I've done electrical work. Yeah, thumbing the phone just if the grid goes down. This is why I'm trying to learn all this stuff now. But it could just guess that does happen, and at least then I can still survive. Everyone getting scarves this winter, Steve. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. A blanket and scarves, yeah. Probably. I've already got plenty of them anyway, so I don't really need to make any, but... Right. I think that's it for tonight. I think plastering is easy. Timing is everything. Right. The course at the well-known supermarket, did we, Sandy? Got your license for the reach forklift truck. I've got reach and counterbalance. I've got both. I did both. One thing I ain't done, I've never... Well, I have drove a car, but only like in lessons and stuff like that. I've never passed all that. I've never... It don't really interest me, to be honest. I've never wanted to drive a car. It's not my thing. If I wanted to, I could do. I could pick it up really easy and pass and get it, but I don't want to. I don't want to drive. Like I said, I've never plastered, so I don't know how to. I need to learn. Right, I think nearly 2 hours now. I'm going to call it a night. Get off. And then I'll did I leave a link to that thing? I can't remember. I can't remember if I left a link to that thing. Let me just yeah, I did. I left a link. I'll do it again. I'll leave a link to the thing I didn't finish reading. I didn't finish reading it. I'll leave a link to it. I might pick it up next time in a few days. They are fun. I like driving forklifts. We're good driving them. I have to go back and look at the beginning. There's some good stuff on the beginning. Help you discern and that. Good night, everybody. Don't forget, look out for yourselves. Discern what's going on and don't put your trust in anybody else. Stand on your own 2 feet. Be an individual and just like say, no, enough's enough. Yeah. Don't let the bastards grind you down. Take care, everyone. Good night.